Alright folks, unfortunately for us, we had to deep dive into the woodworm world, and I'm here to just give you a quick recap of basically what we learned and what we found. We will touch quickly on how to detect woodworms, if your wood has been infested with them, what kind of woodworms there are, and how to differentiate between them, and obviously the most important one is how to get rid of them. All right, it's done. Here the roof on the other side is down. Unfortunately, also here, the main beam is actually in a worse condition than anticipated, which is a bit of a problem. I'm gonna have to figure out what to do now, because we've actually already done the part here where we prolonged it, and I even put all the concrete back in, so it's actually finished. And yeah, now I have to figure out if this finished is gonna work or not. I mean, essentially this is a beam that is gonna remain visible after isolation, because basically we're also gonna isolate between those vertical ones and then put some kind of a ceiling on there. So this, has a disadvantage that if it looks really ugly, you're gonna see it. Has the advantage that one can kind of keep an eye on it. Should, the control of the woodworms not work as anticipated, then this will be visible quite quickly and one can react. So essentially now we have to establish if it still has substance that works. Being attacked by wasps. There's actually a lot of wasps on the tiles, and they obviously don't feel very happy about us taking the tiles away. So they tend to attack us. So we'll see about this. I'm definitely going to take all of these down, even the ones that potentially could still be used, and we will burn them at the bottom to make sure that whatever might still be living in there is forced to move out. Alright, let's get that done. Alright, so just to show you a bit the issue we're having here. It's serious woodworm infestation. I don't know if you can see it that well, but that's basically what happens if I hit it a bit with a hammer. Honestly, I think it should be changed. I really don't want to though, because I've already closed it up there. So let's clean it out a little and just see what it looks like underneath, and if there's anything we can do. I think essentially this is the north side, so there's not going to be that much weight on it. So if it's, the way we figured it out when we cut it at the front is that the damage only peripheral, and actually the core is still intact. If that is the case, I think it could be saved. It's not ideal. It's going to be a lot of work to make it look nice, but yeah, let's check it out. Up. I'm just gonna have to sit here for a while, guys. Up, right up. There you go. Let's see how that works. Importance of woodworm detection. First and foremost, woodworms aren't just pesky pets. They really literally threaten the constructural integrity of our homes. Spotting them early on can prevent severe structural damage to your house, leading to financial strain, and essentially, stop their spread to other parts of your house. So do take this seriously. This is quite good. If you just with some air pressure, you have the possibility of getting a better idea, because once all the sawdust is out, you kind of see what the damage really looks like, and also in terms of applying any products to remove potential worms or larvae still in there, or eggs. It's going to be much easier to get that done. I think I'm doing a whole episode on woodworms because it's been a major topic here. So good luck with that. So it's not rocket science. Just make sure to check for fresh sawdust, small holes, or actually also even large ones, which are then they don't seem to be done by a worm, but they're actually the exit holes from the beetles. Also take a moment to just listen, maybe late in the evening or at night when it's super quiet and you can properly listen. You will hear them, because although they're quite small, they can be surprisingly loud. In some cases, slightly pressing the surface of the wood or even tapping it with a hammer can also give you a good indication of potential cavities underneath the surface, because some woodworms don't actually come out. They are literally building their whole network of holes just underneath the surface, so you can't see them. This is actually what happened to us. Coming to part 2, knowing who you're dealing with. There's a whole variety of woodworms out there, from ambrosia beetles to the infamous death wedge beetles. It's essential to distinguish between them, as the treatment and obviously damage they can cause varies between them. So there are numerous images and obviously descriptions in the internet for you to be able to distinguish them properly. So, do go search them. I'm not going to deep dive into every single type of beetle there is. In general, though, I can say there are certain criteria that are quite easy already to distinguish them primarily, which are going to be important to you. And this is, for example, factors such as the sawdust, right? You will always see a lot of sawdust come out and underneath the wood, because they have the tendency of cleaning the holes, meaning removing all the sawdust out of the holes. Other ones stuff their holes completely full with sawdust, so also when you open up the wood, you will see that all the holes are completely filled with sawdust, and not so much sawdust actually falls out. So this is already one of the main distinguishing factors. Obviously, the size of the exit holes from the beetles is also going to give you an indication of what kind of a beetle came out of there, because they vary strongly in size as well. It is essential to know, because some woodworms, they only touch certain types of wood, so they're not going to go into any hard types of wood, for instance, like they're not going to go into oak and such. Also, some only touch the softer outer shell of the tree. They're never going to be going into the core, so your supporting beams usually are not threatened quite as much. Others, on the other hand, they go right through, and hence they can really quickly deteriorate the integrity of a beam, which is going to be dangerous for you. So if you're uncertain, of course, do always go and consult an expert on the matter, just to be sure that you know who exactly you're dealing with here. All right. What's up? So quick update on the woodworm situation. We decided to leave this beam behind me because after long reflection we just figured it still was solid enough to carry, but obviously without any further woodworm infestation. So essentially what we did is drill holes every 10 to 15 centimeters and fill it with boric acid, because this, does not really damage humans in any way, but it will eventually also terminate the woodworms. And in addition, you kind of see that we have already been flaming the new beams downstairs, but decided to carefully do the same thing up here with the large beams that have not been removed. Reason being, they don't really like the burned wood, and in addition, obviously also heat is a good way of terminating them. So don't try this at home, and if you do, don't tell them you saw it here. Coming to part 3, the eradication technique. So how do we fight back? There's a really large spectrum of methods. So from insecticides, heat treatment, microwaving the wood, or even just luring them out of the wood with placing wet cardboard or acorns on the wood. So they're obviously very different in terms of how invasive they are, but also on how effective they are. I think we've tried most of them. I mean, we didn't try microwaving because you need a very specific machine for that, and I think it's a great method, but it's very expensive. And obviously, depending on the severity of your woodworm infestation, on how much it has progressed, you actually might have to resort to removing the entire wood, making sure there's no sawdust or anything that could potentially contain eggs anymore, and replacing it with new wood. So there are plenty of businesses out there that will do a great job of handling this for you, and I think if you're not into the whole DIY side, do try to consult with them and definitely get them involved. Because for instance, when it comes to heat treatment, for instance in the roof area, and you're not planning to do a new roof, they have really great methods of wrapping up basically your entire loft and roof, and then they have a huge fan that's going to be blowing like hot air into your roof for a couple of days, which is going to do a good job of eradicating most of them. And yes, this is quite pricey, but it also works without you having to remove anything or drill holes everywhere, which is all things that are going to be a bit tricky to do. Coming to the DIY side, so if you're one of those who says, I'm going to try to tackle this myself, or maybe it's not that progressed yet, so I just want to be making sure to stop this at an early stage. So if you feel up to the task, here are some DIY tricks to consider. If you have small pieces of wood, it's quite straightforward. So we're not talking about a big beam, we're talking about a piece of furniture or anything like that, but it's not that big or even smaller. You can bake it or place it in your sauna if you have one, and that will definitely do the job. It just needs to be basically heated up over 60 degrees up to the core. If you got some wooden furniture, you can, and it's summertime, ideally you can wrap it up in black foil and place it in the sun for a while, for a day or two, and this definitely the temperature in there really rises and also does the job for you. And if you have larger pieces, I mean, you can't burn everything, but for instance with classic just a beam, fire definitely does the trick. This is what we've applied a lot, because you have to remember that burning the piece of wood not only eliminates the current pests, but also sanctifies the wood against infestation in the future, right? Because just burned wood isn't that attractive to them. Lastly, let's touch on boric acid. It's an eco-friendly option and is harmful to humans, though always exercise caution. You can either coat new beams with a solution, which is basically boric acid. If you can buy it as a solution, or you can just buy the powder and mix it with water. If the wood is already infected, you will have to drill holes every 10 to 15 centimeters and inject the solution into the wood. And to distribute it evenly within the wood, a simple compressor does the trick. So just place it on the hole and put some pressure, and it will distribute it inside. And obviously you want to be wearing some protective gear here if you work with a compressor, because it might fly back into your face and you don't want to get that in your eyes. Alright, so here you have it. Just a quick crash course on battling woodworms. If you found this summary helpful, don't forget to like, share and subscribe for more renovational wisdom. Until next time, just keep those beams strong and let's go get things done. Thanks.